The state of Missouri was built on the backs of hardworking men and women looking for a better place to call home. But brawn wasn't all it took. Our state's rich history was also established thanks to challenging young minds and a desire to foster scholarship. Following World War II, and in large part due to the GI Bill, enrollment at Missouri higher education institutions increased significantly. Throughout the 20th century, Missouri's commitment to education was strong and steadfast, and our economy prospered as a result. But with tough economic times, state funding priorities have shifted over the last 10 years. As tax rolls sharply decreased with greater numbers joining the ranks of the unemployed, state and federal lawmakers had to make difficult budget cuts. In fact, an annual study of state spending on higher education found that state appropriations for colleges and students sunk by 7.6% from 2011 to 2012, the largest such decline in at least a half century.
Well, we're creating other debt. We might not be state debt today, but we're creating other debt. We're creating student debt. We're creating parent debt. We're creating, the ability of those schools to meet their obligations, and those aren't any better for the state than the state figuring out something else it needs to cut. Boy, is it easy to sit here and say cut something else, but they need to cut something else.
Now Missouri finds itself in a race, but it is a race to the bottom. As recently as 2008, Missouri ranked 47th in per capita appropriations for higher education. Missouri ranked 46th in appropriations per $1,000 of personal income. And Missouri ranked 49th in the change of state appropriations from fiscal year 2002 to 2007. This is not a race we want to be in. This is a race toward inadequate numbers of graduates, a race toward an unprepared workforce, a race toward a less prosperous economic future.
I'm hearing concerns even now from employers about going forward, because it is all about talent. It's all about talent retention and talent attraction. And yes, there are concerns about availability of qualified workforce going forward.
The reality is that cutting higher education funding and making it more difficult for Missourians to advance their education level hurts our ability to bounce back from this economic recession.
I think that one of the things we learned from the recession was that if you had a college degree, it might have been difficult to find a job, but you were 3 times more likely to be unemployed if you didn't have a college degree than if you did. And we know that the median household income for people who only finished high school is about $30,000 a year. If you have a college degree, it's about $50,000 a year. And if you have an advanced degree, it's about $80,000 a year. So clearly there's a correlation between education and income and between education and employment opportunity.
I do believe the investment in education today pays dividends to a state or to municipal government in terms of increased tax base, no question about it.
And our tax rolls won't be the only thing to suffer without a robust higher education system. Our businesses hurt too.
I think government needs a heck of a lot more fiscal discipline. But I'll tell you the first thing I wouldn't cut, and that's the investment in the future of the economy.
Missouri business leaders know that the lack of state support for higher education is hurting their ability to recruit and retain a capable workforce that will allow our companies to compete on the world stage.
We know that in order to compete in a more globalized economy, we need to have a highly educated, highly skilled, highly trained workforce.
We as business leaders have to communicate to our employees and to our constituents and to our community the value of this engagement between business and education at all levels.
A group of business leaders and higher education advocates are working to increase support and funding for higher education and bring a nonpartisan voice to the debate. The Missouri Higher Education Partnership was created to be a strong, consistent, and sustained voice of the business community in support of higher education in Jefferson City and around the state. Together, we advocate the importance and value of higher education, educate the public and opinion leaders on the economic impact of higher education, and support candidates and elected officials who are pro-higher education.
I think the Missouri Higher Education Partnership needs to focus on 3 things: research, education, and advocacy. There is not a statewide organization that is an ambassador or an advocate group for the importance and the value of higher education.
We've got to really step up our game here.
By joining the Missouri Higher Education Partnership, you can ensure that higher education receives the priority status it once had and allows our state and communities to achieve greater levels of economic prosperity.
Because that's what's going to separate communities and frankly our country from the rest of the world is our ability to compete on this global marketplace. It's all going to be about talent, and there's nothing more important than to invest in education.
If we succeed, Missouri will have a better educated and well-trained workforce, new high-paying jobs, a prosperous economic future, and an appropriate tax base to continue investments in the future.
This is the most important investment in the future of our state of Missouri.